Keep a sharp watch. The temperature plummeted. Messy, dark tempest mists rose from the west. Vivid cat's paws showed up on the water, from the north or west, and then from a southwest. A change in weather was coming. The first mate looked through the skyline with his spectacles and mumbled to himself. I walked to the helm and strained to see off in the distance. I bet it's a nor'wester. Do you smell it? Rainy and foggy weather's coming. He crinkled his lips into a frown. I don't think so. It looks like a wave of irritation swept over me. I can smell the haze coming. Sit back and watch. At 8 o'clock, a dull shadow appeared on the water toward the south. My hand shook as I reached for my spectacles. Wind. A south wind. Exactly what we'd hoped for. In a couple of minutes, it will reach us. The water rippled from the fresh, cool air. The skyline faltered. The division among ocean and sky appeared heaved and swelled, promising a coming mist. At 10 o'clock, the breeze bounced toward the southwest and renewed. Light wisps of fume floated down on our port bow. After 30 minutes, the skyline shrunk to the point it was tricky to see. "Orders, Captain?" the watch asked. He gave me a sharp look. "Continue," I said. "Half pace, route southwest." The motor room and stokehold energized. The screw spun. Foam agitated in our wake. The odd got underway. The chart house was a free-for-all of computing and estimating. We chose to continue at a reduced speed on a northern course. If when we reached that point, the weather was still foggy and misty, we'd make our leap and sneak by the English. By early afternoon, we evaluated the quality of the breeze as 3. Occasional light showers of a fine downpour. Still a day's steam from the English line. This timing was perfect. The moon darkened by mists. The temperature gauge fell. The current was still too high to mean a quick storm. If the temperature kept falling at this rate, a tempest could lay ahead. I chose a southern course, through the barricade. We multiplied the watches. Even the chef needed to stand watch. Our watch motto was, "Keep your eyes prepared." In front of us waited a fleet of English cruisers. The next day was April 16th. At 4 a.m., I entered into the logbook, cloudy, foggy, periodic overwhelming showers, twist, southwest 4, refreshing, relating ocean. We figured out the route and the path length. It was 150 nautical miles to the line where the enemy waited. If we pointed straight for the center of this line, we should arrive by 8 p.m. on Sunday. We counted on the enemy being somewhat distracted. We hoped the English sailors dug into their alcohol rations and were not focusing on their tedious duty. With the cloudy and ominous weather, it would be pitch dark by 8 o'clock. Before dawn, we could cover 60 miles and be out of sight. The farther west we steamed, the ocean grew in cold air and power. The rain came over the bows, and we huddled into our oilskin clothes. The afternoon was a pleasant shock. The downpour turned into a haze. About 4 p.m., we couldn't see 800 yards in front of us. Our situation improved by the minute. How did we get so lucky? We moved southwest at our maximum speed. Anybody who watched us would have thought we entered out of the polar sea. If an English ship came out of the haze near us, it would be difficult to make them believe we were a tramp steamer carrying coal. Until 6 o'clock, we could only see 3 or 4 boat lengths ahead. Our crew was alert. None of the men rested. They stayed vigilant. The haze over the water lingered, dark and overwhelming. The strange tranquility rattled our energized nerves. We never took our binoculars away from our eyes, even for a moment. Every second we listened and looked for something strange. Large whitecaps crashed the Aude's bow, splashing over scaffold and vessel. Each spray of water on the bow enhanced my stress as we approached the English line. "What's the time?" I asked. 7:10, Captain," the watch answered. "Keep a sharp watch. We're near the line." The clock's hand struck 7:15 p.m. The ship came alive with activity. Starboard, a dull, dark, dim matter appeared out of the haze. "Hard a port," I yelled. "Speed up to maximum. Emergency stations." The wheel moved fast to port with such a sharp movement, the wiring in the motor room transmitter creaked as if it was damaged. Like a shocked seabird runs away, the odd darted into a quick bend to port. Damn, an English cruiser. Her shape appeared. 2 masts, high upper works, a thick channel. "Half pace, route, south by west," I ordered. We couldn't run. We were exposed to the English ship. I estimated her at a distance of 200 yards. If she continued on her current course, she'd be side by side us in minutes. The fun begins. At the initial alert, the watch beneath, observing on the deck, moved toward their bunks. We stood on the scaffold. My heart thumped in my chest. The crew fell into their tramp sailor routine, calm and collected, hands in pockets, spitting and smoking. We made sure to show no obvious anxiety to the cruiser. We continued to stare with our spectacles, tooting every few minutes like the freighter we were. To the outsider, we were a harmless tramp steamer. We steamed next to the English cruiser for what seemed like an eternity without communication. I was desperate to know what the English ship was doing. They studied us with their binoculars. I sent my first officer to the chart house. Through the chart house window, he could better describe the English cruiser to me. "Many huge weapons forward, same aft," his voice rattled. On the cruiser, men stood at the deck, staring hard at us. We waited for a command from the English ship. Were they going to order us to stop? Fire blanks at us? Nothing. Will they follow us into the Faroes? Those rocky islands lay ahead. One more steam's day from here. Time slipped by. We waited, making ourselves ready for whatever may happen. At 7:30 p.m., I ordered 7 rings hit on the boat's bell. The sailor who observed us at the cruiser's rail slunk away. Was the English cruiser losing interest in us? It was cold out and wet all around the deck, and at 8 the watch will be changed. Did he climb below for a tot of steaming grog? The sun fell into the horizon, and dusk would soon be upon us. I gave instructions to light the masthead and side lights. Our fake paperwork laid organized on the flag locker. No action or movement on the English cruiser. Even the bridge was left to only the watch officers. Did the English ship think we were a harmless tramp? How could they not have any questions about why we approached from the north? 8 bells rang. Time for the watch change. New guards scurried to their positions on the deck. She was so near to our ship that we saw everything happening on board, even while the sun set. If only we had a torpedo or a submarine to help us. One torpedo to the English cruiser would destroy her. Maybe it was too cold for the sailors. They might shadow us as we traveled southward. If they tried to board, we could manage them. I couldn't figure out why or what they intended to do. I could gesture to them with our Morse light and request our position. I needed to get information from them, something, anything about their intentions. The English ship picked up her pace and moved 300 yards ahead of us. She put her rudder over hard and swung over our bow on a south-southeast course. The English cruiser had no intention of getting closer to us. She disappeared into the thick, dull haze. I strained to see her through the haze. Nothing. "The English are gone!" The men shouted and clapped. We needed to get out of there as fast as possible. I ordered, "Maximum speed ahead." We smothered the lights, and as fast as we could, we headed northwest. We needed to get away from the cruiser line as fast as possible. We spent the next 3 hours on our course until I dared to head west once more. We were in the North Atlantic, getting closer to Ireland. At midnight, the wind blew so intense we needed to tie down everything not bolted into the deck. I had lifelines drawn out to clutch. The breeze swerved toward the west and then northwest. The haze had gone. A downpour drenched us. The temperature plummeted. These were signs of an approaching northwester. The little Odd whipped through the puzzled ocean, shaking off the water washing over her bows. Her unsharpened bows and upper works protected us from the cold wind. Our speed reduced from 10 knots to 5, and later to 4, until we barely moved at all. I put her on a southerly course, trying to stay clear of the English barricade westbound of the Hebrides. Even in the densest haze, one was never safe from the English. No guarantees that our next encounter with the English would go in our favor. The breeze came from the northwest. By the middle of the day, the breeze was battering us and testing the strength of our ship. I was confident our ship was strong and seaworthy enough to brave a violent storm. The cargo worried me. The ammunition was not stored in the safest way. With the ocean crashing over us, we couldn't restow it. The holds would fill with water the moment they opened. The ocean swirled. Wind gusts followed each other. A storm brewed. The last 2 days shuffled us to a place far outside of our chosen route. Were we still by Iceland or slingshot toward the Irish coast? I had to get our bearings. We needed to make our landfall at the correct, agreed-upon location. I couldn't risk feeling my way down the Irish shore. After some intense navigational work, I discovered we were a day away from the Rockalls. Hidden from the Atlantic, over 200 nautical miles west of the Scottish seaboard, was a far-extending reef. The Rockalls were a sandbank with thousands of little rocks shooting up through it. The seashore has a distance of 3 nautical miles and runs east and west. At its western end, a single stone juts from the water. This solitary stone is the size of a conventional 2-story house. This stone is the main clear part of the reef, and the various edges are safe. Where the bank closes, the floor of the Atlantic drops out of nowhere to 2,000 yards. Even on the large English maps, the Rockalls are set apart with a point the size of a pin's head. Many boats have been destroyed on these stones and die with all hands. It's a sea cemetery. The soundings which the graphs give on the banks are few. A small number of sailors have braved the Rockalls to chart it correctly. Common sense was to steer clear of it. I welcomed this challenge. I steeled my nerves and set my route for the western limit of the coastline. The storm wailed. Wind gusts peppered us with volleys of hailstones. The ocean seethed against us. The haze and mist transformed into a downpour, adding to the night's darkness. It was pitch black out and impossible to see anything. Then, out of nowhere, through a crack in the mists, the moon shone. Off the starboard bow, a dull shadow appeared. A long, lean structure with a few promenade decks, 2 high, slender channels, and 2 poles. Was it a traveler liner or an English cruiser? It was too dull to tell. I decreased speed right away. We had to disregard the thrashing ocean that swamped our ship. A sudden hail shower cloaked us. The liner had no lights and steamed at a moderate speed. My gut told me she was a lookout cruiser, but I needed to be sure. We waited on edge for another 15 minutes. Out of nowhere, the liner appeared to wake up. She sped up and steamed away. We were now separated by more than a mile. Our luck held out again. She must not have seen us. So much for the famous watchfulness of the English Armada. We slipped through their net again.